Hello, jelly beans. I'm going to tell you a story. Story time! I'm going to call this story Four Leaf Clover. I know that's a dumb name, but whatever. Deal with it. Okay. So, this is going to be a story about our ego. And so, first, let me start off by saying there are 7 conscious minds, 7 ego minds, and there are 7 subconscious minds. And basically, what this is a positive, a negative, and a neutral. And we live in all 3 of these states consecutively. And what happens is, if you can imagine music, this is going to confuse a lot of people. Okay, so when you're writing music, and how you have those lines, I think there's 4, and you can draw your musical notes, and it, music goes up and down, right? So your life has a very similar sort of flow. And you have your positive, your neutral, your negative. And what happens is you function non-linearly, and it becomes a wave like this. And it goes faster and faster and faster to a point that it almost looks like it's going in reverse. And what happens is, if you're not whole and balanced, you are going to flip-flop between positive and negative too quickly. So much so that you don't even notice that you have a positive, so it seems more like you're skimming negative or neutral. Negative, neutral, negative, neutral. You don't even notice your positivity. And the less conscious you are, the less aware you are of all the positivity in your life, the worse it's going to be for you. You basically are just under the assumption of trauma and pain, which is illusory, because there really is no pain, there really is no trauma, because we exist solely in the spiritual form. This is not a tangible thing. Although you can feel it, it's not really real. So if you can slow down your consciousness by skimming neutrality, by isolation, you can start to focus in positivity and slow down your wave, the ebb and the flow of life. And then what happens is you start to have this like this. It'll start to look like an infinity symbol. And you just have to ride the wave. It's kind of like surfing. The swell is gonna get really big. It's gonna draw back in power. And you just ride it. You ride that wave, and you can go higher and higher and higher, and then flow with it. And then you come back, you're gonna paddle into it, you're gonna get up, and you're gonna ride, you're gonna flow with it. So what happens is, rather than having the assumption of negativity or incoming pain, rather than living in that constant state of fear, fight or flight mode. You can be under the assumption that something positive is coming. And what you do is you focus on all the positivity in your life and know that more of that is coming. Bigger things are coming. And so you start to focus on all the little positive things until you hit that big positive thing. And you ride that positivity through the little positive things. So instead of being little negative things that build up into big negative things, you are focusing on little positive things that become a gigantic wave of positivity. Do things happen in life that are uncomfortable? Yes. Are you going to be uncomfortable? Yes. What should you do? Feel it. Okay, I didn't really like that very much. I'm going to think about the things that I do like. It's inevitable that you're going to have moments where you lose focus. And that's normal because you are not in your natural state. This is not a natural state. But you can thrive in this state by not focusing on the fact that it's not your natural state. Your natural state is unconditional love. It's photons. It's electrical currents. It's hard for me to explain. I'm not a scientist at all. I'm not a doctor. I don't have any special degrees. I just happen to remember where I come from. I spent a lot of time visiting that place when I was a child. So what I'm going to tell you now is the story of ego. My childhood was one of constant fight or flight mode, and therefore I was always expecting or under the awareness of incoming, inbound negativity. After the negativity would happen, I would have a good cry, I would let it go, I would go back to my positive nature, my positive state. But I always knew that there was going to be more of that. I knew that it was going to keep coming. Even though I was moving forward in my innocent naivety, I always knew in the back of my mind that there was the possibility of this. And I would allow it. I would take that wave. I would get back on my surfboard and I would keep going. And then the wave would hit me, knock me off my surfboard. I would get back on and I'd start paddling again. And so the ego mind is trained to tell you that there is incoming pain, that there is incoming hardship. So for 2 years, I found lots of tiny 4-leaf clovers. My ego mind kept telling me that this is not a normal thing and that it would not last. And so for a while, I would look for 4-leaf clovers and I wouldn't find any. And so the other day, I was walking down the street and it occurred to me that I had stopped looking for 4-leaf clovers. And I thought to myself, there's this patch of the land where nobody mows it, nobody cleans it up, and there are clovers over there, and I know that it is really difficult to find a large 4-leaf clover because most people pick them before they can get big enough. And I looked in that spot. I went directly to that spot and I looked down and I found a very large 4-leaf clover. And I decided to make it into a paperweight so that I would never lose it. And I think this is going to become my symbol of remembrance, that whatever I want will come to me in time, as long as I am in the right frame of mind, as long as I am remembering how to find things, how to bring forth those things, And so this is sort of a story of overcoming the ego and manifesting. Even though my ego kept telling me out of fear and frustration that I was not going to keep finding four-leaf clovers, what I did was I stopped looking, and then I decided that I wanted a big one. I stopped trying to find little ones every day. I changed my mindset and I came back around to the idea of wanting a four-leaf clover. But then I decided I was going to get a big one. And it manifested like this. I knew where to look. I knew what I was looking for. I knew what I wanted, and I knew that I was allowed to have it and that it was mine. I was not attached to it. I had not been seeking it for a long time. And it was in that moment I decided, this is mine, I want it, it's there. And it was there. And I got it. So, while the ego can be beneficial to us to keep us from doing things that would cause us physical harm, emotional harm, it is there to tell us important things. And I do thank my ego often. Thank you for coming. Thank you for trying to protect me. And sometimes I have to tell it, I got this. Anyway, you can overcome your ego simply by saying thank you, having gratitude, and then releasing whatever it is that the ego is telling you that you can't do. You have to release the attachment to that thing. And that's especially important if you want to manifest something big. You can fight with your ego in order to manifest small, incremental things, which is what I was doing. I was manifesting small four-leaf clovers often. And then I got to a point where my ego was screaming at me, you can't have this. You can't keep doing this. This is impossible. It's rare. And I said, okay, well then I won't look anymore. And I stopped and I left it alone and I forgot about it. And then I decided, it's time. I want this big thing. And I got it. I used 3D logic. I was not attached to an outcome. I had made my mind up that I wanted it, and that was it, that it was going to be there, and it was. But I was not in the mind frame of, if it's not there, I'm going to be devastated. I never had that thought in my mind, and that is the thing that you have to get rid of. You want something, but you have that nagging disbelief. You can't have that disbelief at all. It has to be completely eradicated from your mind in that moment when you make the decision. And so this is a form of release that people don't tell you about. The eradication of fear of if it doesn't pan out. It's like a moment of stupid bravery. I have had moments of stupid bravery, but then I still had that little nagging fear come back up and be like, no, you can't do this. And I was like, crap. And it messed me up. So anyway, that's the four-leaf clover story. I hope that helps, and I hope I clearly articulated my ideas on that. This is simply my ideas. This is my philosophy for now. It's ever-changing as I grow, as I evolve as a person. So thank you for joining me. Welcome back to my channel, and peace.